Welcome back. Loyiso Gola returns to theatre of Marcellus at Empress Palace on the 28th of March. Now, the show takes us on a hilarious journey exploring the differing impact of cultural moments in South Africa and worldwide. He dives into pop culture through the years and the way it has shaped our lives. The two-time Emmy nominee joins us now in studio this morning to share more on the comedy show. Loyiso, very good morning, man. How's it going?
Very good, very good. This is very early. This is very morning. Yeah.
It's quite interesting because we had you last year and you complained about the same thing. You gotta get used to it, man.
I can't get used to, I can't get used to flights at 6. This is crazy. What time is it right now? It's like 6:45.
6:45,
yeah. This is wild. But I'm here, so I did wake up on time and sleep on time, so I'm good.
That's the most important thing. You're here and you're here to talk to us about the show. What can we expect?
The show? I mean, the show is it's just me and all the things I'm going through in my life, and we are all collectively going through. So there's all kinds of stuff. You know, the Burkis of South Africa want to move to America, so it's fine. We're like, okay, cool. There's people who are applying. I'm turning 40, so I'm enjoying being 40, which is cool. It's just that my body just keeps betraying me. Like I high five someone, my shoulder's not working for a week. You know, that kind of vibe. So as much as all this stuff is happening around us, I think we need to gather and sort of laugh about it. And this is why I'm doing this show, and that's what people should expect, like just laughter.
So where do you come in terms of what's happening in South Africa? I mean, does the show reflect what's happening in South Africa or in your personal life?
I mean, I think like sometimes as a society we have this mistake of sort of separating politics and our actual day-to-day. And I think like what this show does just kind of connects all of them. Because everything we do is political. The water we drink, what we can say on TV, you know, the electricity, every single aspect of our life is a political thing. So I don't know how the mind now separates the two all the time. Real life and politics is exactly the same thing. So I try to marry all of them all the time. I try to go, oh yeah, this is this is how healthcare looks in your 40s. This is what, you know what I mean? It is how the political system treats you when you have kids. That kind of vibe. So I try to mix and match and make it make sense to people.
So as you try to marry all those elements into your set, how careful are you in terms of venturing some of the...
I am not careful at all, my brother. Like I don't exist in that world where I tippy-toe around issues. I think this is also part of like getting older. It's like oh, I can deal with whatever consequence comes, whatever the hell I have to say. So I don't... and I'm not like walking on stage trying to be offensive. I'm not going, I'm going to offend everyone. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying to say, this is how I see it.
When it happens. When also, people get offended.
I also just think people, it's okay to be offended. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. Your safety is still intact. No one punched you in the face. It's just a couple of words that landed not in the right place in your direction. Yeah. So I think people need to also calm down when it comes to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also, it might not even be the joke. You might just be going through a bad day. That's got nothing to do with me sometimes. Sometimes you just got fired from work and now you're at the now, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's got nothing to do with the actual joke. You're dealing with other things, you know?
Got you, man.
And I think people must be honest about that as well.
And Loyiso, I understand you write jokes for other comedians as well. Just how challenging is it to write jokes for other comedians and then write your own set?
I think I've written stuff for other people to perform in certain shows, like for instance, like a roast, or if someone is specifically doing a campaign and the campaign pertains to comedy, and then they'll call you to write stuff. I think like for me, I am so like in tune with each comedian in the country, like their style. And so when I'm writing for someone else, in a case, I would I don't know, I would assume them, I would assume being them for like maybe a couple of days and just be like, how would they see this and sometimes I get it wrong, but I think for the most part it's fun to write outside of yourself. But for me, I sometimes impose some of my ideas onto them, and I'm like, how the hell will they know?
Right.
I just give it to them.
You know, Loyiso, I'm quite curious to know if you write a joke for someone else, and say, for instance, you are in the same show, you know, with that particular comedian. So do you write the jokes that are not really funny so that you appear funnier than them?
No. That's, every time I've written for someone else, or it's always a specific context, like a roast. So this particular person is gonna, and it's not me. I say it's a team. It's like a team of like 10 people who write these things. I think sometimes I always find it absurd when people think that comedians just make up things on stage, and I'm like, no one makes up anything on stage. Like people get shocked when I'm like, no, the president writes his budget speech. They're like, oh. And it's like, no, there could be sometimes a couple of writers trying to make this thing make sense still. So people think you just stand in front of the camera and just talk. They don't know that there's like a process behind. There's a whole lot of planning. And so sometimes when a good comedy show is happening, people are not sure if people are making this thing up or just, because people always go, yo, did you write all of that? I'm like, I wrote every word.
Yeah.
Even when someone said something from the audience, I go, yes. I've been doing comedy so long, I almost know what you're gonna say, and I have a rebuttal for it.
But then do you sometimes find that you have to improvise on some of the material, or
of course.
Is everything planned to the T?
Yeah, I mean, improv, even when you improv, the scenario has played out somewhere, somehow in your life, in your career, where you're like, oh, I remember someone saying this in 2007. Boom.
Oops.
Yeah. So I find it absurd. It's like I find it absurd when people think things are just made up on the spot. Why would you pay that much money for things that are made up on the spot?
Imagine.
That's crazy. That's bizarre. People can think what they think, but I like just being honest about how things work and processes.
Earlier on you said, that there are some people who are going through the most, or maybe fired at work. You just used that example. Yeah. And what about an audience that is made of those kinds of people, and they don't find some of your jokes funny?
Oh no, that's crazy. That's like that's an absurd observation, because that's like, so what happens if there's nothing in the news today? What would you do in your desk? Would you just, that's always news.
How does it affect you?
You'll just make up news as well, because I've seen it. Have you ever seen in the news when it's running really low, and then they'll tell you about a pumpkin in Minnesota, and you're like, guys. And you're like, did you know in Limpopo they can grow mangoes the size of a bus? You're like, wow. No one wants to watch this.
All right, so all the best, man. Share details about the show.
Huh?
Share details about the show, just briefly.
It's on Friday, next week Friday, 28th of March at Empress Palace, Theatre of Marcellus, and tickets are available at Pick and Pay and Web Tickets.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for always having me.
Thanks for waking up.
Oh, you know what? That's actually the best thing, me waking up.
All right. All the best, man. Thank you. Well, we just spoke to internationally recognized comedian Loyiso Gola on his upcoming show at the Theatre of Marcellus at Empress Palace.